Okay, so today I'm going to be working questions 21 through 26. So it says 21, find the measure of angle B in degrees. Round to two decimal places is necessary. Okay, so let me label my sides. From the 90 degrees, opposite from the 90 degrees is always the hypotenuse. From my corner B, opposite from my corner B is what we call the opposite. So that means we have this third side is called the adjacent. From the three sides, I have no information about the adjacent. So I'm going to be using opposite and hypotenuse. Okay, from my acronym, I know SO is the one that uses opposite and hypotenuse. So that means we're going to be using sine. So I'm going to say sine of B is equal to 21 over 22. Okay. If I multiply both sides, or if I multiply by the denominator, I get 22 times sine of B, but my problem here is that my letter is part of the whole ratios of the whole thing here, sine. And I mentioned yesterday that the whole thing is together. So I cannot divide by sine and to leave B by itself, right? I have to, it's all together. However, there is one way I can split them. There's one way I can split them. I'm gonna say B when I'm solving for an angle. I'm gonna say B is equal to, I'm gonna be able to split them. I'm gonna move the sign to the other side, but I'm not gonna call it just sine. I'm gonna call it sine inverse of 21 over 22. Mm, okay. So in order for me to split this, I'm gonna be using what we call inverse. Now, some calculators do write it like this, sine to the -1. Some other calculators call this arc sine. Now, depends on which calculator you're using. So let's take a look at our calculator that I gave you. I have the work from yesterday still. I have it on degrees. So one thing, man, you gotta make sure you have it on degrees. So I'm gonna go sine inverse. Now here, I only see sine. I don't see it as inverse or to the -1. So in my case, let me go here where it says function, and then it changed my key here, and then I see sine inverse. Okay, so I'm gonna do sine inverse. Let me come back to the main part because that way I have the numbers here. Let me write my fraction because I want a fraction in the center, 21 over 22. So make sure you see what you needed to see. Sine inverse of 21 over 22. I press enter already. Actually, let me press enter here. And it gave me 72.658. So let me run this to two decimal places. So let me call this 72.66. So I'm gonna say my B is 72.66. I run it to two decimal places because that is what the instruction said. Round to two decimal places is necessary. Okay, let's take a look at number 22 here. Find the measure the indicated angle to the nearest degree. So from the 90 degree, opposite from the 90 degrees, always the hypotenuse. From this corner, farthest away, that's the opposite. So it means this is my adjacent. I know the opposite is 5. I know the hypotenuse is 12. I have no idea what the adjacent is. So I'm using opposite and hypotenuse. For my acronym, SOHCAHTOA, that is so that means I'm going to be using sine of that question mark. Sine of my degrees is 5 over 12. So to have that question mark by itself, I'm going to call this sine inverse of 5 over 12. Okay, so let me come back to my calculator. I have to go to function to find sine inverse. I come back to the main and I'm gonna type a fraction. I'm gonna go 5. I click down over 12. I click to the side, close my parentheses. So sine inverse of 5 over 12. Make sure I have what I needed. I press entered, have it on degrees, right? That's important. So 24.62. I'm gonna round it to the nearest whole number. So 24.6, I'm gonna round this to 25. I'm gonna round it to the nearest whole number, so my answer should be 25. I round it to the nearest whole number because that's what the instructions said. The indicated angle to the nearest degree. So that means the nearest whole number. Gotta read the instructions. Okay, let's take a look at number 23. Let me scroll down. You guys' case, you guys flip the page. Find the measure of angle D in degrees, round to 2 decimal places. I know from the 90 degrees, the farthest away, that's the hypotenuse. From my corner D, farthest away, that's the opposite. That means this is my adjacent. I have no information what the opposite is, or how big is it. I have no information about the opposite. So I'm using adjacent and hypotenuse, because adjacent is 14, hypotenuse is 21. I know from my acronym SOHCAHTOA, this is Ka. That means that cosine of angle D is 14 over 21. To get that D by itself, I'm going to split them, but I'm going to call it cosine inverse of 14 over 21. Let me take a look. Still in degrees, so that's important. I go function, cosine inverse. I come back to the main. And in here, I'm going to go 14 over 21. So I see the answer 48.1896. I'm going to run it to 2 decimal places. So I'm going to call this 48.19. So my answer here it is 48.19. I rounded to 2 decimal places because that's what this instruction said. Round to 2 decimal places as necessary. Let's take a look at number 24. From the 90 degrees, the opposite of the 90 degrees is the hypotenuse. From this corner given here, farthest away is the opposite. So it means that 5 is the adjacent. I have no idea. I have no information about the opposite. So I will be using adjacent and hypotenuse. I know from an acronym that's CA, that means cosine. So I'm going to say cosine of that measurement is equal to 5 over 15. That means my question mark is cosine inverse of 5 over 15. So function cosine inverse of 5 over 15. Make sure you're in degree still, okay? So I see 70.5287. I'm going to round this to the nearest whole number. So 70.5, that becomes 71. I round it to the nearest whole number. So 71. I round it to the nearest whole number because that's what it says. Indicated angle to the nearest degree. So that means nearest whole number. Okay. take a look at number 25 now. Find the measure of angle X in degrees. Round to 2 decimal places as necessary. From the 90-degree symbol, opposite of the 90 degrees, always the hypotenuse. From the corner X, the farthest away is what we call the opposite. So it means that 22 is the adjacent. I have no information about the hypotenuse, so I'm not going to use it. So the acronym that uses O and A is tangent. So let me write this as tangent of X is equal to 19 over 22. That means that X is equal to tangent inverse of 19 over 22. Okay. So under my function, let me go tangent inverse of 19 over 22. I see my answer, 40.815. I'm going to run it to 2 decimal places, so I'm going to call this 40.82. I see 40.82 because I'm going to run it to 2 decimal places. So let me come back here to our notes. My answer is 40.82. I ran it to 2 decimal places because that's what the instructions said. Round to 2 decimal places is necessary. Okay. Lastly, let's take a look at number 26. From the 90 degrees, the opposite of 90 degrees is the hypotenuse. From this question mark, farthest away, that's what we call the opposite. That means 16 is my adjacent. I have no idea how big is the hypotenuse. I only have information about the opposite and the adjacent. So I'm going to be using my acronym TOA. That means that tangent of that angle, so tangent of the question mark, is equal to 14 over 16. That means that angle is equal to tangent inverse of 14 over 16. So tan inverse, come back to the main, 14 over 16. And I see my answer there. I'm going to run it to the nearest whole number. So let me call that 41. I went to the nearest whole number because that's what it said, to the nearest degree.